Alright guys, welcome back to another video, especially Monster Hunter video. I am accompanied by my two good friends, Moosh and Benny.
Yo.
Let's go around the table. Moosh, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I guess. Hey y'all, I'm Moosh. Part-time nerd, full-time nerd. Who am I joking, honestly? Definite weeb. I play a whole lot of longsword. Bit of a content creator, bit of a musician, bit of an artist. Do a little bit of everything.
Cool. And do you have a Twitch, YouTube, anything like that?
Yeah. So Twitch is going to be twitch.tv /Legend of Moosh 21. I don't have a YouTube, and I also have an Instagram that is at Moonlit Strut. Fair warning, don't show up to my Instagram page if you're hungry, because I post a lot of cooking stuff and a lot of art stuff. So, like, don't go on my page late at night if you're hungry. Just don't do it.
In the description, guys, I will be posting links to their channels so you guys can follow them. They're really good content creators. Benny, what about yourself?
Benny, aka Boop. I love Monster Hunter. Every weapon is good. Fuck with dual blades really hard right now. And I post a lot in my mind, but very little of it makes it onto the internet. So if you like telekinetic posts, I guess follow for that. I will post things eventually.
And how long have you been playing Monster Hunter? Because, I mean, of course, you're my best friend, so I know how long you've been playing. But I know people are going to be curious in terms of how long you guys actually been playing, including myself, so...
This is year 16 for me coming up.
Because last time I checked...
Right from the very beginning, PS2.
I was about to say, for the watchers out there, he's a veteran. Last time I checked, you definitely were able to play... You've been playing since, like, what, Lao Shan was, like, an online-only monster, if I'm right?
Yeah. My first... So, it was one of the first online games I played. People would say LMAO, and I was like, why can't these people spell Lao? Like, it's not that hard. Why are you putting extra letters in there? I was that innocent and young. I was just like...
Bro.
Yeah. That's how long... I mean... Shit, I was 11, right? 11 or 12. I've been playing Monster Hunter for more than half my life.
Nice, nice. Same here, same here. My first was actually... Funny story, so my first Monster Hunter game was actually Freedom 2, which I'm actually grateful for because it was actually a combination of, I think, what, like, just, it was just, what, 2, just, like, remastered, and then it had, like, a few new monsters in it. So for me, I was actually able to get the full Monster Hunter experience with, you know, shitty hitboxes and, you know, a really grindy system. So I feel like, personally, I got the full Mon Hunt experience, but... Yeah, since Freedom 2, I'll say, I will never forget the day I got it because my mom asked me, do I want a Halloween costume or do I want a game? And I was like, I want a game. So I actually got it from, believe it or not, I got it from Sears. I didn't get it from GameStop, Walmart, Best Buy. I got Monster Hunter from Sears. And I was just like, oh, this game looks cool. But yeah, I love it. I love the series. Moosh, how long you been playing, my friend? I know we just literally talked about it, but, you know.
Yeah, I know. We just talked about it before hitting recording. So this is actually my first Monster Hunter game in any capacity. I got World at launch. Actually, a friend of mine who's like, she was really big into Monster Hunter. She's like, come grab Monster Hunter and come be a giant weeb with me. I'm like, all right, bet, got you. And yeah, that's kind of how I got here.
Being this was your first Monster Hunter game, what do you like about the series the most? Like, what is your likes and dislikes?
Oh god. So like, I like the nature of the grind of it, right? Like, I mean, we all play Destiny here, so we can be frank about it. I like being able to know exactly what I'm grinding and working towards, rather than have it be like a random engram drop or anything of that nature, right? It gives me a very specific goal and task that I can work towards it. I'm a huge fan of the fights. I mean, like, I'm a longsword player, so I mean, surprise. So like, being able to like read the flow of a fight, counter, it doesn't feel very clunky. It doesn't feel like I'm fighting a weapon and fighting the monster, which, seeing as I started with Charge Blade and then went to Longsword, was definitely an issue at the very beginning of playing base game. The RNG still sucks.
That's a whole. That's like since the beginning of the series. Like you will never get the drop that you want. I shit you not. There's actually this. This rumor was so bad that the developers had to like debunk it. But people were claiming the desire sensor. Like there was this rumor saying like if the game knows that you really want something, there's an algorithm in place that goes against you and will not give you that item. It was to the point where I think one of the developers came on and said that's not real. Like there was a whole article on it. They were like, it's a fake. It's fake. If you don't get the drop you want, it's just because you don't get the drop you want. But I'm like, nah, like we know.
To connect that to Iceborne, when the wish list came out, there were people that were paranoid about using it because they thought it would make it harder to get those drops if you were keeping track of it.
I think so. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm gonna write it down, I'm gonna put it in a safe, I'm gonna burn it afterwards, they'll never know what I want.
Like I fully believe it, and like after a point, like I used to do a bit of deco farming with like Lord Chunk, Greatest Jagras, and Levisioth, and I was like, you know what, I will just get these gems when I get these gems. I'm not gonna trip.
I love it.
I'm 1,400 hours into this game trying to find a Shield 2 jewel, and I'm never gonna get it.
Oh, God.
1,400.
2 months.
Bro. No. I mean, like,
game's been out for 2 years.
Dog, like, I think I might have just hit like 500 or 600, like booting up this save. Like, what?
Yeah. Like I said, I've been unemployed a couple times since this game's been out, so
All right, but let's get to it. We're here to talk about Alatreon. People love him. People hate him. The first thing I want to go over, and I want Boop to start, of course, is what did you like about the fight?
I like that it wasn't the old fight. I guess was my biggest thing. I was pretty bad at Old World Alatreon because like I only fought him in 3 Ultimate, and that was Kelby Bow. Anybody that fought him knew what Kelby Bow was. Anybody that doesn't know, you could awaken. There's a Kelby bow made out of deer horns, and it was really crappy unless you maxed it out and then awoken it, and then it had slime, which is today's blast.
I was
so
just about to say, for those who know
little
what blast is, that's what slime was when it was even more busted. When it was its own
Everybody
thing.
rolled up to Alatreon, and they all had a slingshot that would just shoot little bombs at him, basically, and just nuke him down, and you didn't really have to do the fight besides just rolling out of the way when he did moves and, like, circle strafe. So, I mean, I never felt like the fight was accessible. Old World Black Dragons, to me, Fatalis, and Alatreon both, like, that was always a ranged weapon thing for me. It was very hard. Unless you had Mind's Eye or something, you couldn't really hit with new weapons a lot, There was like a lot of requirements to try to fight these guys in the old game. So it definitely feels more accessible.
Okay.
His moveset's a lot more forgiving. There's a lot more openings as far as what melee players can like take advantage of, I think.
I was actually going to bounce off of that too, because when you said like more accessible, at first the only thing... The fact that you can even do the quest at 24 says a lot, because I feel like Capcom knew they were saying like, he will be an endgame monster, but if you are at least this level, you can fight him. It may be hard, but we're not going to wall him from everybody. Now,
Bush just like sequence broke the game.
Wait, what happened? What'd I do?
I'm just saying, because like Alatreon, the most recent update, he's like the hardest thing. You basically like sequence broke because you didn't do a lot of the other DLC that came in between him, like endgame, and you just went right to the end and just destroyed him. I was actually gonna
say that the fact that you jump from like just the Alatreon, the fact that we only carded like once or twice, and then by that third hunt it was just like, nah, we got him. I was actually impressed by that, if anything.
Yeah. Appreciate it. I mean, it's kind of funny because like. My MR, which is like 76, so like I still haven't fought Silver Rathalos, Gold Rathian, or Ruiner Nergigante, like in the Guiding Lands. It's like none of that's just happened yet.
It's funny because
like, I've taken down the Avatar, but not the Eater of Elders.
It's crazy because like if anything, if you were to do, I feel like for a player that were to do it the linear way, and this is something I wanted to address later, but for the people who are saying like, oh, he's too hard, I feel like for the players that's been consistent with like the updates and, playing things in order, I feel like everything pretty much sets you up for success to fight him. Because I feel like if you're coming from, if anything, I feel like if you're coming from Behemoth, that alone is like, okay, I think I can expect the worst. Because if anything, I thought Behemoth was harder in a sense of like, one, he is hard in terms of he hits hard, his moves are different, on top of his setting isn't even a Monster Hunter fight. It's not just, I'm going to go and beat it till it dies. It's, oh, he has like RPG Final Fantasy elements to him, meaning I have to play in a play style completely different than what the game has been telling me to do this whole time. So I think Behemoth was actually harder than Alatreon in the sense of like, one, a learning curve and then difficulty.
Definitely agree with that. Definitely agree with that.
I don't know if Behemoth was harder. He's a lot less fun. That's for sure.
Yeah. The fun factor's not there. Alatreon's fun, but Moosh, what did you like about the fight, if any?
Wow, if any. Okay, so I mean, fight-wise in general, it wasn't that bad. I mean, it took a couple of tries to get used to like all the stuff that he does, and it's like it's getting accustomed. I liked the fact that he comboed all of his elements together, right? So it's like you had your water blight stuff that would combo with his fire stuff and would set foes on fire. The thunder interacts with ice, which would react and become dragon. It's like the amount of stuff that he does and can do to you is super sick. I mean, it's not sick when you're getting hit by it, or like when you're not, pumping out enough elemental DPS and, it's a team wipe. But, the actual fight itself before that's usually pretty fun.
Very flavorful.
Okay. One thing I want to talk about as well is how do you think they could improve it? The only thing that I personally thought in terms of what they can improve on is, and Boop can attest to this, when you go to, like, it's funny because I gotta say word again. When you go to boop him into a wall, I think that was literally the worst design, in my opinion. People can argue and say, oh, but Descend, there's like these certain stalagmites in the wall, like the big pillars you gotta throw them into. I get that, but if I can only hit those two things out of the whole level, I'd rather not be able to yeet him at all. Because to a player coming into it, the first thing you're gonna think of is, alright, I gotta maximize DPS. As soon as I get a yeet in, I'm just gonna hit him into any wall and it'll be fine. So when you go to yeet him and he doesn't, and then he gets enraged, and then he stacks on more DPS, now you're sitting there like, wow, why is this even here if I can only hit one or two things? But that's me, but I definitely want to hear you guys' feedback on that.
I think the visual design of it was pretty bad. Like you said, it's not obvious where you can hit him. A lot of the arena looks like walls, and it's just not. I don't mind it so much that you can't hit him to the walls, because part of the learning curve is that you can yeet him out of the sky, and that becomes a lot more effective, at least that I've found. But yeah, I still don't like how it's like basically misleading if you're trying to throw him into a wall. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, and like maybe on like my standpoint though, it feels a bit different because like I saw where you could put him into a wall, but like they were so far and so spread apart. It was a lot like the Shara fight, right? Because like you have those three traps that you can like throw him into the wall. Like you can hit him in the wall anywhere, but it's only like three places where it'll knock him over. And it's like after I saw it, I was like, so I'm just not going to be using this. That's fine.
I think that's why I like Shara's Valda's yeets, because they're so distinctive. It's like, here's a big hole geyser in the wall. It's like the game is basically telling you, like, okay, you can obviously see you can't yeet him in other parts of the wall, but this part, you can hit him in here. One, the DPS is high, and then two, it feels super rewarding. And I'm like, oh, cool, I like that. And the Alatreon's like, hey, here's like a big spike. Hopefully you're not played in the dark and you see it. And it's just like, oh, okay, that's fine.
It's like, it's good luck. I hope you're close enough. And even if you are close enough,
he still might not hit it and look at you like you crazy, like, you done fucked up. And it's just like, oh, don't hurt me. But this is
the way that Elder Dragons will get thrown right at the wall and then just turn right at the last second and just look
Oh,
at
that's
you
the
like,
worst.
nah, didn't get
That's
me.
like
They just enrage.
that's me.
God
That's me
damn it.
literally getting ready to unplug the external from the PlayStation. Like, you know what? Fuck it. That's fine.
Like, this is fine. I just pissed off the Avatar. No big deal.
he will literally freeze me and break my bones, but it's fine. Who do you guys think didn't like this encounter or this boss fight? I know who I think didn't like it, but I want to hear who you guys think didn't like it.
Scrubs.
100%. Yep.
It's Scrubs.
Scrubs.
Or
everyone, or the people who I think may have fixated on, who couldn't make the conversion for like raw to elemental DPS. Like, I know a lot of raw DPS people were pissed about this entire fight.
100%. My thing is, the only bone I can give people like that are the people who, for example, are claiming like, oh, why can I use Raw and Blast when we just got Raging? And it's like, I get it. I 100% get that. You just fought this brand new monster and you want to use its weapons. That's cool. But you just can't use it on him. And you gotta pretty much deal with that part. I used to feel bad for the people like that when I was struggling with him. But as petty as it sounds, when I got my W, I was like, oh, nah, y'all just ass. Like, I quickly hopped that boat so fast. Like, it was crazy. I was literally, and I felt so bad that I was in that mindset of like, oh my god, Alatreon's too hard. What is this? But the moment you beat him, you're like a whole new person. You're just like, oh, you know what? If you can't beat him, you're just bad. Period. Capcom's right and you're wrong. Like, that's it.
I mean, the thing is, once you realize you have to have good element in the build, you realize that it's not a healing fight, it's not a defense fight. Like, once you realize you're just not doing enough damage, the only factor is if you're getting hit too much. Because if you're not hitting him, it's because you're rolling around on the ground because you got hit by lightning or his ice or something.
Can we talk about how if you literally have evasion, that fight is not as hard as it is? I want to address that too. Like, literally, that's a whole new fight if you have evasion.
Fast.
Like, you don't even get hit. It's just like, this is crazy.
I beat him in full Sappy gear, and I wouldn't have if I didn't have evade. Like, I did it with the health sap and everything when we finally killed him, because I had evade.
I mean, I had like a Shara part breaker build, so like I basically figured like my elemental stuff was gonna be kind of limited. But once we got him into Dragon, we knocked him down. I'm just like, nope, I'm pumping everything I got into his face, and I'm gonna shatter these horns. It's gonna, like, it's not a matter of if, it's just how long is it gonna take me.
It's so
Kind of took me back to the Velkhana beta too, just having to get every yeet, every mount, take advantage of every single knockdown, that type of thing.
It's literally so crazy how this monster, and I've been playing Monster Hunter for a long time, and this is literally I want to say, to me, the first time there was like controversy around an update, but it's literally crazy how so many people made just mountains out of molehills. Like, when you look at it from a certain standpoint, Capcom literally was saying, like, you know what, you guys been asking for challenges, you guys just been saying it's too easy, y'all literally beat Base World in a day, y'all didn't farm no elemental weapons. So when I look at it from that perspective on the side with the devs, I feel as though they have all right to just make a boss that says you have to use these certain kind of weapons or you'll die, because we've been giving you so much content and monsters where you don't have to do that. I consider Alatreon that, I know this is going to be something like later that I want to discuss, but to me, like, he is just endgame. Like, he is like, and I play Destiny, so one thing to relate it to is there are just going to be certain things in RPGs where you just can't use what you want to use. Period. Like, I get RPGs are the foundation of you want to be who you want to be. You want to wear what you want to wear. You want to utilize all these builds. And that's fine, but it's also fair for the devs to hit you with a curveball and say, well, what are you going to do, player, when I give you this kind of enemy or this kind of situation? So when I look at it like that, I'm like, you know what, Alatreon, fair. 100% fair. For all I know, they could have said you know, you can only use dragon or something like that, and if the dragon isn't high enough, then you'll die. How's that? You know what I'm saying? They could have said that you can only use one element now, and then people would have been mad at that too.
For Capcom, this is kind of the first time Capcom has been, like, working with the fans every time they roll out an update. Like, they've been very, very responsive
100%.
and very, like, they've been listening really hard. So this is like one of the first times they've actually seen the meta. They see people using blast, raw, bombs, whatever. They see what's happening, and this is the first time they've directly responded and said, no, you know what? You guys wanted element to be viable. We gave you element weapons. You're still not using them. So here's a fight where you get to do that. And you were just saying they don't funnel you into dragon. They're like, you can use any element. They're all viable, but it has to be element. Get your statuses out of here. Get your raw out. Of course, 2 seconds later, they're like heavy bowgun, 4-man, a minute 50 seconds or something. But, you know, for that first night, it really tripped us up pretty bad.
Do you two think that the DPS check would have been so controversial if it was just DPS versus elemental?
No.
100%. Okay.
Yeah, no.
No one would have noticed. No one would have known it was a function.
That's like probably one thing I want to talk about too, is like, it's so crazy how one tiny tweak would have just not made Alatreon relevant. If it was just DPS check, no, you can use whatever you want, no one would have said, pardon my language, a damn thing. Because it would have just been, oh, cool, I'm going to use Blast, or, oh, I'm just going to use this Raw Greatsword. But it's so crazy how they just made it so, like, it's just, they just slap Elemental on it, which is in itself, like, a whole nother video, I think, in terms of discussion, because I've been playing Monster Hunter for a long time, and Elemental has just been, it's been on and off. I feel like people only use it, in my opinion, I feel like early in the game, but once you get to the point where it's like, you discover like the really good raw weapons or those really good just, you know, dragon or just blast stuff, like you'll be like, I don't really have to use this as much. So I like that. Oh, what was you gonna say?
Oh no, I was saying, like, I definitely agree with that. Like, I can say, as like I said, this is my first one. So, like, I would definitely, like, do elemental weapons, you know, to help get some extra bonus damage, and then once you find your one good weapon that doesn't necessarily need it, I think for, like, Iceborne specifically, it was, like, the Nargacuga longsword. Like, I was like, I don't need to switch off this thing for a long time, and especially because it has, like, a hidden status or hidden element. It's like, cool, non-elemental boost the raw, and why would I play with element? Basically, is what it turned down to. Until we got to Alatreon, and then it was fun again.
I feel like if Capcom really wanted to go back to just, and I'm a Mega Man fan too, so I know what a hard game is, and I know what Capcom is capable of with difficulty. I feel like if Capcom really wanted to, if they wanted to be like, you know what, guys, y'all don't use element enough, going forward, if you don't have this monster specific weakness, you just won't do the damage. Like, for example, if they even did like a little secret path where they tested it out, where let's say you go to fight Rathalos and you don't use anything but water or, you know, dragon, and you literally see immune or your damage is cut in half, that would cause some, then people would say, okay, we're sorry, we'll utilize everything the game has to offer. But I think they have that power, but once again, like Boop said, they're working with us. They want us to be happy, but they want to give us a challenge. But if Capcom were to do something like that, I couldn't even be mad. I would be like, you know what, this is what happens when people just go the easy route, if anything. Me personally, I love elemental weapons because that's just how, as a Mega Man fan, like when you play the classic games, if you go up against Iceman, if you don't use his weakness or any other enemies, you get thrashed. The game literally punishes you for being like, why aren't you using what's weak to me? You literally could have fought the guy before, come fight me, and, you know, do what you gotta do. So Capcom's always been on the thing about use just what the guy's weakness is, and it makes the whole thing so much easier. So the fact that, you know, the elemental DPS check, I actually thought it was cool, if anything. And I feel like the more times you fight him, have you guys noticed now that you're like, when you actually get quote unquote good with the fight, he flinches like almost instantly now? Like, I was literally just mindlessly fighting him and he just falled over. I'm like, oh, so this is how the fight's supposed to go. It's like clockwork, literally.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's hard to feel bad for people that are still mad about it too, because once it clicks and you realize like, oh shit, we did it. We got through that many attacks without getting hit, whatever it was. We got our damage out. It's such a satisfying stagger. The camera pans back a little bit. He's like, falls over.
Nothing is
It's
better.
great. Everybody swarms
Nothing
in.
was better than a visual cue in a game that shows you did what you're supposed to. I think it was so tiny, but I love
Right.
that. I love when the game says, "Yo, good job! Like you did that. Like look at this. He fell over. This god, like Moose said, this god deity dragon beast thing just literally fell over to you. Like that's a good thing. Keep up the good work."
I appreciate how Soulsborne-y the attitude got in here real quick. We're like, nah, y'all, nah, come on now, come on. It's not that.
The Souls Bloodborne attitude kicked it real quick with Alatreon. It was just get good, get good. That's it.
Get good.
I think that's why people got mad is because people were probably just saying, well, this isn't Bloodborne or Dark Souls. This is Monster Hunter. Why do I gotta get good? Why can't the game be easy? And it's like that's not how how RPGs work. They can literally change it any given time. They can literally patch the game and say, you know what, let's make it a little harder. Oh, let's make it a little bit easier. Because last time I checked, base world was easy as hell. Like, I'm sitting here just like, this is not the Monster Hunter I grew up with. Like, people are literally beating it in weeks, in a day, if a day even, like a few days. Like, it's crazy. Like, Iceborne to me felt like that good callback to how it's supposed to be progressively harder. And then as they started rolling out the DLC monsters, I'm just like, wow, this is literally what it was always supposed to be. Fun, hard, rewarding. Period.
Mm-hmm.
World didn't really hit like Monster Hunter for me until we got Arc Tempered Nergy, and then I was like, we're playing Endgame.
Now we're on to the good part. Weapon thoughts.
Alatreon weapons.
Oh no.
I was about to say, I'm waiting for Moose to be like the longsword. Just gush about it. Please tell me. I don't have it, but I want it. I heard it was good. Like the moment the moment I saw the scythe, I'm like, he's about to go. So,
never mind. Give me a second. Apparently, I drank too much. Be right back.
what's your favorite weapon from Alatreon?
Longsword.
The longsword. Like literally, as soon as he came out, I think that was like the only weapon people were just saying like is good was just get his longsword. It's the best. Just get his longsword.
I like a lot of them, to be honest. The first thing I need to say is they gave him dual blades and a gun. And a gun lance. I think the gun lance was new. I could be wrong on that now that I say it out loud. But they gave him dual blades, which he didn't have, and I love them. He needed them. Dragon dual blades. For me, like, Dragon always goes with either dual blades or, like, SNS back to, like, the old hero for, like, Kokoto sword.
The DPS is so high on dual blades, too. Like, it's ridiculous. Out of all the weapons I think that you want to utilize element, is just dual blades. Because they hit hard and they hit fast.
They legit nerfed the element damage for, like, dual blades, SNS, a bunch of weapons for the Alatreon fight, so they wouldn't do too much element on him.
You know what's funny though?
And then they upped it for like great sword.
It's so crazy how that's like the trade-off with the weapons. Like I feel like it's always been like that. It's always been if you use the shorter weapons, I've used like if you use like the dual blades and like the SNS. It's like the trade-off is they're weaker in terms of damage output, but you get higher elemental versus like hey, if you use a long sword or great sword. Things like that, the damage is higher, but the element is like a little weaker. It's so crazy if they just buff elements on great swords and long swords, they would be. I remember back in Freedom 2 and Freedom Unite and like the other games, long swords were the most dominant weapon, and like that's all you use were just those and hammers. Like I miss old school long swords just because how popular they're good now, but as like a longtime player, like you just can't beat old long swords. Like they're so good.
You're totally
so
right.
Good.
Once you said longsword and hammer, I'm thinking about my old loadouts, and it's all like the desert cone and like rusty
just
claymore.
So good. Like now, I like how Iceborne makes everything good, so everyone could just find the loadout that fits them. But people,
Those were just raw
they're
weapons
just so
too.
good.
Element was
Right.
nowhere to be seen in the old games. It was just raw. Like, just get the number as high as you can, get some crit, you're good.
I've been an SNS main for so long. Like, that's like the only weapon that I typically... Those and Lances. SNS has been my favorite for, like, ever. Even when people were bashing them, SNS is ass, it's for noobs, it's weak. But they're just, like, just such a look to them. I just love the idea of just fighting big monsters with my little shield and my little knife, and they just die. Like, to me, that's just, like, the ultimate dragon slaying just tool. And it kind of made me mad. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little petty because ever since they buffed Sword and Shield, everyone's using them now, and I'm sitting here just like, I was using this before it was cool. Like, I became that person. I was that person on Reddit, just like, well, actually, I've been using Sword and Shield since Freedom 2 and shit, and I'm just like, well, what have I become? Who am I now? Like, I'm that guy.
Man, man, that's stepping in some real hipster territory. It's like, I was using this before it was cool.
I have my flannel on, my
I
big
think
thick
if-
glasses. I'm just like, well, actually, I've been using it since
I think the thing that's worse for Descend's case is that they made SNS good, but they gave it new moves that are really good. So all the new people are just using those moves, and this guy's been learning the entire deep-ass moveset of the SNS, so he knows, like, every single attack
Right.
to a T. Like, he could hit a monster with, like, any angle, and people are just like, roll, circle down, okay, I'm gonna do the big combo now?
It's so
Just
it
hope
makes
it
me so
hits.
upset. I'm like, just put the weapon away.
Or just jump.
Put the weapon away. Like, let a real SNS master. There's like, I think I wanted to do this original series actually when I wanted to start a cover monster hunter content where I wanted to fight every single monster to prove that you can SNS it. But as soon as I was getting ready to do that, of course there's some player off in the dark depths of YouTube who not only did the same thing but better, but it's like, oh, I could beat this monster in like 2 minutes with an SNS. And I was just like, oh, fuck that. I can't beat that. My personality can only get me so far. I can't. And then I'll like go look into it. It's just like the first thing they have in this thumbnail is just the time, and I'm just like, fuck, I can't beat this. I can't do it.
Oh wait, so I have to ask this since you're a SNS main. So if, let's just say, hypothetical, next patch we get oils back,
Oh.
how you feeling?
Oh man. Okay, so one or two things are gonna happen. First, Boop's gonna look at me and gonna go, "Don't you wish you would have played Generations because you can know how this shit works?" And then once like the hype dies down, I'm gonna be like, "Wait, I really don't know how to utilize these." Like so I know I have the. If they were to get introduced, I would feel like I would get really hyped. But then at the same time, I would be like, wait, something's got to give, though. Because last time I checked, the oils, like, made the weapon really, really strong. So I'm just like, if they're like, oh, we're going to give you guys oils, but that super mega combo you guys do is going to get, like, nerfed. Then I would be like, just to keep the oils. Put them shits back on the shelves. Just whatever. But no, I would be really hyped if oils came back because that would tell me as well, like, one, now SNS is where it needs to be to keep up with other big weapons. And then I would, like, in the back of my mind be like, wait, what else from Generations are you guys gonna... Is Bloodbath coming back? Are you guys gonna put Bloodbath into 2? Are Deviants in the game next? There's just, the possibilities are just endless. I feel like at the end of the day, that World, Iceborne, whatever, is just gonna be... I feel like they can just keep updating it to be the Monster Hunter game that they want it to be. I feel like it's no coincidence that they shut down Frontier and then said we're just going to put all our money and resources into the World Series. Like, I don't expect a Monster Hunter 5. I don't expect Iceborne Ultimate. I just expect them to just keep, maybe like a yearly expansions, but them pulling things from other games. Like, I want to know your guys' opinion just really quick. Do you guys think we're, overdue for another weapon type? Or you guys think they're just going to keep everything the way it is?
I know my answer. As the guy that uses every weapon type and is way too thirsty for a new one, yeah, I think we're really overdue for Chancellors or something, something cool.
World or Frontier.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would love Tonfa's. I would also love the Magnet Spike because that's even more anime. But I mean, I've been playing this my whole life. I got so many
Moose, have you
concepts. I
seen
want
Frontier
nunchucks. I
gameplay? It's
want,
literally Monster Hunter
I,
cracked. Like, it's disgusting how it's like two different games.
yeah.
so so I haven't honestly. I'll probably look into it afterwards. It's kind of funny that you bring up different weapon types, right? Because there's two weapon types that I would be really into seeing. Well, I've been kind of thinking about it since base game, right? One would be I want like Greaves. I want to just punch the monster. That's it.
Yes.
I just want to punch. I want to be the punch guy.
Yes.
That's it. Just let me just beat it, right? Like that. But
Yep.
then the other one, which was the one I would really go off for, but I can kind of calm down now just a little bit, would be a scythe. Give me a scythe in this one, just like how they have a scythe in God Eater, and I will be the
Oh.
happiest guy in this game.
Since you're a longsword fan, and I want to know your input on this, how do you think, how would you like for them to see, like, for example, let's say they introduce Scythe is its own weapon type. How would you want it
Uh huh.
to differentiate from longsword? I think if I were to give my 2 cents really quick, I would want it to be weight based. I would want it to start off really slow, but the more you do damage, it gets like faster and faster and faster, like a spirit gauge. And then once you rip the final combo, it just gets heavy again. I would love to see something that rewards the player for landing their hits and then just going off the wall. I think that would be cool, like a weighted weapon. But I want to hear your input.
Oh god, I haven't even given that any kind of thought. That's pretty sick, honestly. Um, yeah, no, definitely like the speed or acceleration of attacks. If it gets faster the more hits you do, I definitely agree with that. Weight, but like I can see doing weight in different things, right? Because like if you think about like how the scythe usually gets used and stuff, it's very broad, wide sweeping attacks, but then also it's used to hook things in, right? So I can imagine giving the scythe a move that actually pulls you closer into the monster without it
Chain
being like,
Scythe.
yeah, like a chain scythe, without it being like clutch claw reliant or anything like that. Like that would be sick to me. Um, God,
Can I ask you a question really quick? It's so
Definitely.
funny that you brought
Oh, yeah,
up
go
punching the
for it.
monster. Please tell me you guys actually played Devil May Cry 3, because no one remembers when
Yes.
Virgil had those Beowulf gauntlets and it covered the arm,
Yes.
his hands and feet. They could just do that. Just literally just do that, and I think people would be like,
Yeah.
okay, we want that. That's fine.
Royal Guard.
Oh yeah,
Royal
absolutely.
Guard just be parrying everything.
Oh, absolutely. And then they brought it back for 5. And you can just start doing like liver blow and stuff like that. Like if you've seen Hajime no Ippo, that's just basically it in Devil May Cry.
Like, my thing is, I know for a fact that Capcom borrows from other IPs. Like, it's like literally Mega Man, Devil May Cry, Monster Hunter are like the holy trinity of the Capcom universe. So if there's one thing they can pull from Devil May Cry, is I want to see Virgil's, like, the Beowulf gauntlets come back, because that would be such a compromise to people who want to punch the monsters. And I know for a fact that they will come up with some really cool designs of gauntlets per monster. Like, give me a Zenogre head on my fist, and every time I punch, I want that shit to howl. I'm just saying, that's all I want.
Oh my god, that'd be sick.
Dual Zenogre and Stygian Thunder and Dragon Fist.
Oh, yes. Also, other thing, since we're bringing up Devil May Cry and Monster Hunter, I have to say this. I have to get this out there. We meaning longsword players, we need the devs to make the Yamato as a longsword.
Yes.
Just give us the Yamato.
Because I think they did
Give us
Dante's
Dante's
sword, but they
double
never gave us
sword.
Virgil's. Like, he had a whole katana.
Right. Right.
Just before we get off the topic of anime fists, I wanted to say their mechanic could be you punch them a lot and then it builds up a gauge and then you get like a Hadouken like projectile attack
Their
or
own
something.
Street
that
Fighter,
you
they
get
could
to
do whatever they
use when it
want.
Charges.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mega Buster, whatever. I'm good with any charge attack.
All right. We got to wrap it up, but if anything, though, my overall thoughts on Alatreon is I can't wait to see, because one thing that they've been doing is per raid monster is what I'm gonna call them. They've been like leading up to something bigger. It would be false to say like we're not gonna get Fatalis in the fall. Like, we're definitely gonna get that caliber of monster come fall. In my heart of hearts, I know Fatalis is coming. Like, he has to. And if there's anything that they can take from Alatreon to Fatalis is bring back the DPS check. But I think it would be fair if they made it just a DPS check. If anything. Like, if they wanted to just test how the DPS check is, by all means, that's fine. But I really feel like Fatalis, if a monster of his caliber, I feel like at that point, it needs to be a coming of age of like, we taught you everything. You have access to all these weapons. Blast, fire, dragon, water, thunder. I don't care. Use what you got to do to take down this kind of monster. I think that would be really cool. If they were to show off in the trailer that aspect of, we taught you everything you needed to know, hunters. Here it is, the ultimate hunt. Like, go do the thing. Like, do whatever. Or they can be assholes and say, nah, it's just a dragon-only fight. You guys got to latch on stuff, right? All right, bye.
They tried to do that fight in 4 Ultimate, and then they're just like, shoot Koosh with a ballista, and then it's
Basically.
over. It's like, what's happening?
I mean, I think honestly, like, I mean, overall, like, I really, like, thoroughly enjoyed the fight. I love the music, love the set piece of it. It's a really fun fight, and it really gets your blood going. And it's not like a lot of other hunts or whatever like that, where you can kind of just, like, especially if you have, like, the right people with you, which, again, thank you both for backpacking me through this hunt. Like, thank you, honestly, appreciate it.
Nah.
Like, oh man, yeah, no, like it was just a really fun fight, and like it didn't take that long to do. Like when we beat him, it only took like what, 15 minutes?
It's not a long hunt.
Yeah.
It's really not that long.
Yeah,
He's like glass cannon.
right. So it's like you're in and out of the fight, and it's like I like that also. You know, you could just abandon the quest. Like you don't hit Eschaton or whatever. You don't see those power away. It's like, okay, cool. Abandon quest, boot it back up, and you're back in the fight in like what, 3 minutes tops.
Yeah.
Whatever. So it's like, yeah, like all of it was fun, and then his weapons are all so
Watching
sick.
people leave before the judgment move is
And
funny as
silly.
hell, though. Like that shit's a joke in itself. Just like, oh, time to go.
Peace.
I gotta say, I wanted to say it earlier, but as far as carrying Moosh, that's not even possible with the Alatreon. If you're not carrying your weight, we wouldn't have met, we wouldn't have met Eschaton Judgment. So that's one of the things I liked about the fight. You can't carry people. Everybody's got to be good.
Yeah, I don't even consider
we
that a
share the
carry.
cards,
I
but-
consider that, hey, let's just play together. Like, if anything. Because I've been,
yeah.
I've been following Moosh on Twitter for a while now, so the fact that I just saw an opportunity, I think he even tweeted, he was like, oh, I'll latch you on. I just like, here's my chance. I gotta play with this guy. Like, I gotta ease my way in the door. He seems like a cool dude. Like, it's just so crazy how games can just do that. Like, you know what? I play Monster Hunter. I gotta play with this guy. I got to. And I'm actually really, if and it may sound corny, I'm actually honored and flattered that, we've been playing together and actually, to have like this kind of episode out and you be a guest. Like, it really means the world to me. Like, it's really cool that I like the idea. I like when anyone just takes time out to just say, you know what, I want to get to know you. Let's work on a project together. So I'm actually glad to have you on here and, get to know you, really play together, if anything.
I mean, I'm honored that you invited me to do this kind of thing. And like, yeah, you definitely just like popped up. Like I was losing my mind really hardcore on the time. I was like, oh my god, it's a site. Jesus, okay, I need it. And then, like I saw the stats, just like, why does this thing have 900, like have 990 raw and 600 dragon and purple sharpness and a 3-slot? Why? And I was like freaking out about it. And you're like, yo, you want to go fight him? I was like,
you want to we got you.
He's like, yes.
And if anything,
Yeah,
it's funny because Nick is my friend here. His name is Nick. He's literally my best friend. Like, we've been playing Monster Hunter for a long time, and if anything, I learned how to get better at this game because of him. He's like, period, the best player that I know. Like, there may be people online who can best monsters in 2 minutes and flat. Not only do I think he can do the same thing, but he just has such a humble factor of just like, if I didn't do something right, I just want to learn it, or let me help you. And I feel like there's not many people in the Mon Hun community that really like go the extra mile and say, I'm going to help you, but I'm also going to show you how to do it. So,
Right.
like, he's a good dude.
Thanks, bro.
And plus, I'm mad at him
Thanks,
because he needs to go on Etsy and start making Monster Hunter art, but whatever, and be a millionaire. But that's just me, though.
I'm glad that I follow both of you because my timeline is more blessed for it, and I appreciate all of y'all's content.
I love it, man. I love wholesome content like these, but I really hope anyone who's watching this enjoyed it. If anything, though, this is something I'm hoping to do later down the road. Whether it's just us coming together, talking about our builds, feedback, thoughts, feelings about the game. If these guys are free in the future, when Frostfang comes out, I would like to do a thoughts video on him. It may not be as long because I'm pretty sure people are gonna beat him in like 2 minutes and be like, oh, it's just Barry off, but he just hits harder, whatever. But
Right.
I'm hoping they do drop Fatalis because if anything, that would be a huge video. Like I feel like that would be such a like we can compare it from the beginning, middle, and is this what Monster is gonna be? Like it's gonna be dope. But like I said, guys, I'm gonna definitely plug these guys' information in the description so you guys can give them a follow on their social media, the gaming out channels, and all that good stuff. We're gonna wrap it up here. It's been awesome speaking with these guys and you guys watching, and you guys have a good rest of your night. Peace.